All right, so a couple new items and then a serious question for you vinyl collectors that I'd like your input on. Stick around. All right, everybody. Hey, Jeff here. So I have a few new items that came in, mainly some things that came in today. And then I have a question for you that's related to that. But first off, I'm going to go back to the first things I got more recently. We'll get that out of the way so we can talk about the question. Got a couple CDs in. I picked this up. I had this years ago. Kind of forgot about it. Looked it up and realized, I don't have these tracks anywhere. But 95 Wasp released their album, was it Black Is Not Enough? This is a single for Black Forever and Goodbye America. There were two of these singles released. I believe this is number two. The number one doesn't have the color, or the flag. It's got basically this cover, just a black with the bird, and then I guess that one, that's the cover, and this I think is the inside. But there's two songs on here from the album, and then which are these two songs, Black Forever and Goodbye America. And then there's two unreleased songs that were not on the album. Now this particular one I was able to grab on eBay for, more than I like to pay, but I wanted to, as a completist, wanted to have these songs. I had them back in the day, but years ago when eBay was a big thing and I was running low on money, I sold them. And then I realized, these songs that were on here, I don't seem to find them released anywhere. I saw some bootlegs of the record where they had added them, but they're not things you can get now. Anyway, this particular one has two cover tunes. It's got Long Way to the Top and Whole Lot of Rosie, so they did a couple AC/DC songs. The other one, which I want to get, but the only one I found so far is on Amazon for like $30, which is more than I want. It's actually got two songs which I think are not covers, like Skinwalker and something else. Anyway, I went ahead and grabbed that because, again, it was something I wanted to try to get both of them, and I just stumbled across that one, and it was about $20. So this just came in yesterday, Armada Frontline. Now Armada is a reissue, Retroactive Records. It is a Christian band. Armada is one of those bands back in the 80s that released quite a few cassettes, never went anywhere. They had a song on like one of the underground metal compilations, Christian rock compilations back then. But they never really got signed or took off. I always loved it. This was the first cassette I ever got. They have a couple prior to this. And at first I didn't really like it. It's just kind of like a bluesy hard rock, but over time it really grew on me. Then they put out another one called Black or White, which I liked even more. I'm hoping that maybe they'll reissue that one. And then I'd like to see this on vinyl, as everybody would, right? Rumors have it may be coming. I don't know. These limited run vinyls, are covering areas that you would never expect. So this is a great pickup. All right, then this is another one of those Amazon buy of the weeks. This was for last week. I picked up and I mentioned this in my last video that it was expected the next day. The new reissue of Slide It In by Whitesnake. It is a double record set. Now, if you're not aware, okay, and excuse me if you are, but some people may not be, and there's a lot of glare on that record. All right, so Slide It In was, Whitesnake is a band from the UK, and so Slide It In came out in the UK with the band that was at the time, who had recorded this and previous albums. And, then when they went to reissue it in America the next year, I think it was, the American producers, American companies, the sound was different. They're like, well, that's not going to appeal to an American crowd. So they made them remix the entire album based on an American sound. Not uncommon. The Michael Schenker album that I have has the same thing. And then it's a kind of a nuances of different sound. When you listen to it back to back here, you find that like it's on the UK sound, the bass drum is just really booming. It's predominantly boom, boom, boom. Whereas on the American version, it's a little more subdued. Keyboards can be brought out a little bit more. Guitars maybe a little bit more. So it's it's a different sound. The American sound at times almost sounds a little more compressed, whereas the other one just sounds open and raw. The other thing that may be different on here though is by the time they were going to do that, the band had changed members. So what they did when they said, if you're going to make us remix it, we want to re-record parts of it. So they went in with the new band members and re-recorded the parts. So what you've actually got here is pretty much two different albums. Same songs with parts of it being changed and remixed. And so it was in here somewhere. I was going to run it down. Okay, so yes. So the original Slide It In from 1984 has David Coverdale. He's on both. It had Mel Galley, John Lord on keyboards, Mickey Moody on guitar, Colin Hodgkinson on bass, and Cozy Powell on drums. Well, then when they remixed it, they added in John Sykes on guitar, Neil Murray on bass, and Bill Cuomo on keyboards. So you've got a different guitar, bass, and keyboard on the two different albums. They sound great. Now, if you buy from Amazon frequently, they have the auto rip thing where when you buy the album, the CD or whatever, they give you the digital tracks. And that's great. I like that. I think all records should be that way, especially when you're buying vinyl because you're spending that much money. In this case, so this came out as the double record release. There's a CD version of this. I think it's also a double CD. And then there's a 5 CD set, which has both of those albums, plus a new 2019 mix, totally remixed by a guy. It's totally different sound. It actually has a little more. It sounds really a lot more powerful, a lot more remastered. And then 2 other discs of live and demo and acoustic. So it's a big box set, 5 CD set. Well, lo and behold, when I bought the record, the digital download that they sent me was the 5 deluxe set, the 5 CD set. Score. So I bought the 2 records and I got that, I think for the price dropped to $12, $13. So it was another one that was under 15, so I grabbed it. And then I ended up getting the 5 download. Okay, moving on. This is the main topic. So I, in previous videos, spoke of the 3 big Christian labels that have been doing started these limited run, 100 to 200 copies of vinyl. They've started coming in now. They were supposed to be all coming in around, they're supposed to be coming around the 1st of December, so it's starting to happen. And the first 3 came in from Rox Records. So it was Rox Records, Retroactive Records, and Girder Music. So the first batch is from Rox Records. So we got in Vengeance Rising, Released Upon the Earth. They are all 180 gram. They are all random colors. So this one is kind of a cool purple marble. They do have the Rox label on one. They do have the custom label, the Vengeance, which is kind of like the cover. I believe, I don't know if they all came in or so the first so many orders came with the, with the lyric sheet insert. I'm assuming they should all have this, but I don't know. Because I don't know. I can't remember. I read somewhere that only the first batch does, but, and of course, Scott Waters redid these covers from the CD and everything. Vengeance Rising, one of the early and premier and most well-known Christian, serious thrash bands, almost borderline death metal, the way his vocals were really. And of course, everybody talks about their first album, Human Sacrifice, and I'm hoping that comes again on vinyl because nowadays you buy the vinyl, it's really expensive. This was their last album, their 4th album. And so the first 2 albums had one band. The band and the singer split after the 2nd album. The band went on to form Die Happy, which I believe we're going to be seeing some vinyl reissues of that. Oh, awesome band. They went off and did Die Happy. He continued on with Vengeance Rising. That was the 4th album, or the 2nd album without the band. This was the 1st album without the band. Total Destruction Comes. And it was treated the same way, 180 gram, kind of on a cool watermelon-y looking marble. It's got the Rox logo on one side. It's got the custom label of the cover on the other. So, and it's got the insert, pictures, lyrics. But this comes with a little something special. I want to kind of tell you the story on that. So this was a record. This was the cover back in the day. It's got this kind of a gruesome guy that's kind of like, you can see the destruction's coming and it's blowing, this side, it's coming across the picture like this and it's blowing him in his body. Well, we're talking, early 90s area. And Christian rock was still not fully accepted. It was still kind of a controversial thing in the church, in the Christian movement, in the Christian music movement. It was becoming better, but this cover is a bit much. And the label, and I guess, or the band, whoever, knowing that no record store, no Christian bookstore is going to cover that, they did something. They took the CD, because this was back in the day when it was only CD releases. This was not ever released on vinyl, which is what makes these cool. Some of these were not on vinyl before, both of these. So what they did is they took the CD, and on the outside of the CD case, they stuck this sticker. And so it is tilted all the wrong way. It is covering up the guy. And then when you open the CD and you take out the the booklet, you see that. But this stayed on the case. Well, when we knew that this was coming out on vinyl, I and a lot of other people, one of the first questions were that we were asked to Scott and all of them, is it going to include the sticker? And then the question became, how would you do that? I mean, here's a sticker, but do you stick it on the shrink wrap? No, because then you rip shrink wrap off, no good. You could stick it on, this is just a plastic cover, but do you really want to do that? So they just made it a separate sticker. But that is going above and beyond. That is the beauty of how they went about doing this. So it does include that, and that was really cool. So that is that. And then the last one is Ritual Servant, which is a new band. And I never picked up the CD, and now I regret that I didn't. I probably have to go back and do it because I don't have a copy of this. When it came out, they had some video samples, and I don't know, maybe it was a bad day. I listened to one, wasn't real impressed, never made the effort to go any further and buy it. Now I listen to this, and it's old school thrash, and I really enjoyed it. So I hope to get some digital tracks so I can have it with me, but it sounds good on vinyl. Also 880 gram. It's also in color. This one also is a kind of a purple, similar. This one has a smaller card, but it's got the lyrics and information about the band. So it's got the custom labels and everything too. So anyway, I don't know a whole lot about this band. I know it was a big push when they made it. I just never spent much time getting into it. I'm going to wait until, knowing that Black Friday is upon us, I am going to wait, and I expect that most of these labels are going to have sales. They do every year. And then I'm going to scoop up a lot of these things that I missed out on. There's this and a couple other CDs I want to get. So that brings me to the question I want to ask. A lot of these things are being reissued on vinyl, and some of these things have never been on vinyl before. Some of these things were recorded in the digital age, so there's not really any pure analog, source, or maybe there is, but a lot of these labels, especially in the Christian industry, a lot of the smaller Christian labels have changed hands, have disappeared, have gone. A lot of these labels didn't have the greatest business practices. A lot of the bands don't own any of their stuff. A lot of the stuff is long gone. A lot of it's disappeared. Of course, we know even in the mainstream world, I can't remember which one, but one of the big record industry people, their warehouse burned down and they lost master tapes galore. It's a sad situation. Point being, when I'm under probably the false assumption, and maybe I need to, and that's why it came up in a discussion with some colleagues the other day. Are we serious? Should we be concerned about the source files? If there is no source file and a label is forced to take, for instance, a CD, all right, it was released in CD back in the 90s, whatever. So they take a CD, this is not the example, and they take the CD audio and put it on vinyl. Is that a true vinyl release? Is that a true vinyl sound that you're looking for? The purpose of vinyl, as most of us know, is it's got a wider wavelength. So unlike the compressed sound of a CD, you can get more highs and more lows. It gives for a beefier, fatter, just more dynamic sound. But if the source you're using to make the vinyl is a digital file that's compressed or a CD compressed because you don't have the original, yeah, you can go in there and remaster it and maybe bump it a little bit, but do you truly have that analog sound? Or what if there's nothing existent, the label's gone, there's no CDs, and it's an album that's only been on album, so now they take the album, the original vinyl, clean it up, record it and clean it up, and put it on vinyl again. Now, I mean, I'm sure this happens all over, and then you hear of the the labels that make great pressings. Maybe that, I've never followed much of that information. Maybe that's what people talk about when they say it makes a great pressing. These people have gone back to the original files from the studio and they've tweaked them, or they've done what they need to do from the original source. The question is, how important should source files be when it comes to buying? It really brought that to mind yesterday for me, and I think I'm going to start paying more attention, because honestly, if we're talking, I'm just buying a piece of plastic that has CD quality sound on it, do I really want it? Do I really want to pay the expensive price that it can sometimes be? You say it's something that's never been on an album before, so I'm not going to go find an original press. It's something that was released in that time frame where it was all CDs. The record label's gone. They take the CD, they go back in and they record it and tweak the sound a little bit. They're not dealing with the sound files that came from the studio that they can go in and do all the tracks. But they're just taking like a CD and they're bouncing it to a vinyl. Is that acceptable? Should I be paying $30 for a new issue of vinyl on that? Are we buying the vinyl just because it's on plastic, or are we buying it because we're expecting the superior sound quality to the digital releases? If the source file is from a digital release or from some other inferior source, but is somehow tweaked a little, is that a viable option? Should we be buying that vinyl? Should we be, is that what we want? Should we be demanding some of these companies to tell us what the source files are? Do we need to care? That's a question. What do you think? I'm a little concerned. I'm thinking now that maybe I do care. Maybe I want to find out that, okay, is that just the CD quality? Then maybe I'm not going to buy that vinyl. Maybe I'll just stick with the CD. I don't know. Is it worth it just to have the plastic, or is it worth it to find a better? Then you're not going to find a better pressing on some of them. So then you got to weigh the error. Do you want to have it on the plastic? Maybe they tweaked it a little bit and the sound's a little better, but is it worth it? What do you think? Is this too much information? Should I be overthinking this? What do you think? Anyway, that's all for now. I want to share. I want to get back to listening to these. I've only given them a quick spin, and I am thrilled to have them. I don't know what the sources are, but I'm thrilled to have them on vinyl, and I'm glad to have got them. But, makes me think. Things that make you go, Thanks a lot. Rock on. Talk to you later.